I am upset. I recently got to rewatch The Mummy with a friend who hadn't seen it before. And as you can imagine, we had a blast. That Mummy, by the way. But then I hopped on here, yapped for about 2 hours, edited a video, posted it, and YouTube freaked out. Yeah, I got hit by the good old blocked globally. And then my YouTube studio started lagging. So I'm guessing The Mummy 1999 is a no-no. But nothing will stop me from rambling about movies, so here's like a quick recap of what I wanted to say. I had completely forgotten just how creative this movie was. Not in historical accuracies or anything, but in many different aspects. Notably how the CGI kind of holds up. And even if it doesn't hold up, it's still effective enough to, have an impact on you. It doesn't look ridiculous. It doesn't pull you out of the story, especially like for the scarabs. When those things are crawling around, like you don't have time to be like, oh, well, the reflection or blah, blah, blah. No, you still feel the disgust and the urgency of the situation. The stunts in this movie deserve a video on their own if I could actually show some footage, but they are actually very impressive. Several people get set on fire throughout the length of this movie, which I had completely forgot about. But it's mostly when it comes to the different threats that our heroes, or our protagonists, I should say, they are not heroes, that the movie really showcases like a pretty big amount of creativity. Almost each threat or instance of danger is treated differently, almost as if they're facing something different every single time, and it basically keeps your attention all the way up because you don't know what you're looking at. You don't know what's gonna happen next, and you're wondering what else can they come up with. And of course, you pair that with the amazing set pieces, the very present and very immersive music, the practical effects, the stunt work, and it's almost impossible to take your eyes off the screen for even 2 seconds. In this scene, he was looking at the statue of Anubis, I believe, and he heard a voice warning him in English that he was going to die. And then ripples started happening in the sand to kind of warn him or to shoo him away. Really wish I could show you this because this sand effect is so cool. But then a pretty bad CGI face of the mummy appears in the sand, which is interesting because at this point, the mummy is not resurrected. Then we get a whole sequence of introducing those characters with some slapstick comedy and a very theatrical and 1950s style of acting. Sexual assault, and finally, a threat. So while they're on the boat for Amunabtra, they realize that there's another group also going there to find the treasure, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the tribe that are the protectors of Amunabtra. So we have those very cool, almost ninja-like fighters with emblems tattooed across their faces who make their way onto the boat, and now they have to fight them. We get an amazing sequence. I'm telling you, so many people get set on fire in this movie for no reason. It's awesome. It looks great because it's real fire. Pretty cool action sequence there. Lots of slapstick, but the danger is very real. Look at those still frames. I don't even need to show you video to show you how epic this movie was. The set piece and then the stunt work alone. And the funny thing is, this whole, wow, they're so creative with every single like threat or instance of danger and blah, blah, blah. It's not even like a new thing. It's like a staple of adventure movie or adventure stories. The protagonists are going to face different stages, if you will. But I think taking the horror aspect of it and treating it so seriously really adds to that, because now you get to use, of course, your adventure story tropes, but then you also get to use the horror tropes, if you will. All the little things that make horror effective, you get to use them in that specific adventure story. It's usually one encounter and then they let you breathe for a little bit. We get some character exposition, some bonding, and it's all super well paced. Like this movie is 2 hours long. Now they get in the tomb and this guy gets lost, and previously we heard him say, oh, I hope there's no bugs. I hate bugs. So that was like a fun little foreshadowing. So this is the part where he sees that stuff on the wall. He tries to grab one and it turns into like a real life scarab. By real life, I mean, a giant, super active animated scarab that goes under his skin. And before we even get to see what happens to him, it cuts to them opening part of this sarcophagus, I guess. And you can see them being super scared. So they ask the workers to do it instead. And they really, really build that momentum to make you wonder what's going to happen once they open it. Eventually, what happens is that they get sprayed with some sort of acid. Now, does it make sense? I don't know. I don't think so, but it's very effective. Especially when you're watching a movie called The Mummy. You're like, oh, is the mummy gonna be in there? And it's not. but it's still dangerous. So now every time they open anything, you're like, whatever could come out of this actually. When you look at the scene, you can clearly see that it's CGI, right? Like it doesn't look real at all, but the idea of what it is, what it represents, is still pretty effective. You still imagine this giant scarab under my skin, what it feels like. So it doesn't look disgusting. It doesn't look, disgusting as in bad CGI, right? It doesn't look great, but it absolutely does its job. And I love that. Oh yeah, it goes all the way to his face. So he just comes running and then he hits his head super hard against a rock, falls. Again, stunt work in this movie, 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10 even. I didn't pay enough attention to know if he actually died, but I'm pretty sure we don't see him for the rest of the movie. So again, we just got something pretty intense. So now we're gonna decompress, actually show you the characters bonding with each other and all that, calm you down a little bit before we can move on to the next threat. And the next threat is the tribe guarding the place. They come in, fight them a little bit, and then they leave. Just like any other action scene, everything is great. Stunt work is amazing. A little bit of slapstick, a little bit of humor, a little bit of one-liners, and back to bonding. Next day, those guys are opening one of the boxes that they found, reading the inscription, and again, really, really building up what's going on. The helper that they have, Benny, freaks out and starts running away and all that. And when they open it this time, they get sprayed with just sand, but nothing significant happens. So this sand is not acidic, I guess, like the previous one. So nothing huge. Then we cut back to our protagonist who actually just opened the sarcophagus of the actual mummy. And it does like typical just jump scare thing where the skeleton just falls over a little bit. And even though we see the elements because they use a special key to open it, it's not played up as much. Like, it's not like, oh, this is the mummy. Like, this is, if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't even realize. You would just be like, oh, okay, that's a random mummy. Where's the next threat? Meanwhile, those guys realized that the box contained the Book of the Dead. More bonding, they stole the book. She opens it and starts reading from it. And that's when finally the mummy from the movie The Mummy gets woken up basically, and we're 1 hour, exactly 1 hour into the movie, the mummy technically gets brought back to life. So now there's a whole swarm of locusts, whatever, the insects. Again, we're getting attacked or we are in danger, and that danger is something that we haven't seen before in the movie at all. They show us some of the workers getting caught in it and pretty much instantly dying, so we can feel like the danger of it, but it doesn't do anything to our main protagonists. I love how well this shot is framed. This guy loses his glasses and then Benny's gonna walk on them and break them, and then the mummy's gonna find him. So now we get into the meat and potatoes of the movie, and that's how the mummy attacks people directly. Now, the mummy is this larger-than-life entity, right? We can't just show it doing stuff directly to people. So one of the things with horror movies is the imagination is far scarier than anything that you can show on screen. So every single time the mummy has to go one-on-one on a victim, they basically build it up showing you the mummy stalking that victim for a little bit, being just a shadow that passes by the camera and things like that, or actually hiding right behind and getting close, and always cut away to something else, someone else's reaction if there is a witness, or just straight up cutting to the next shot of cutting to some other people with like the lingering scream. And again, very effective in this movie because you never actually see him. So what the mummy is doing is basically, I don't know, like sucking the soul out of people so he can regenerate, but you never really see it. We get a depiction, a pretty like vivid illustration of it at some point, which I'll try to show you a screenshot of. But we get shots like this right before it cuts to someone else during the scream. I just love that. Like, I'm happy that the movie is not showing me what's happening. I'm telling you, CGI is not amazing, but so effective. So those things all moving with the sound design on top of it, very effective. Again, different threat, different situation, and they're basically doing parkour to avoid them. Really cool. We get a reveal of this guy having his eyes gouged out, his tongue cut out, in his like super dramatic way. The mummy sees her but doesn't harm her for some reason, speaks to her, but then gets shot a little bit, and then they get away. This shot is like such a Disney movie type of villain shot. That's also something that they do in this movie, is that they show you the mummy in this stage with no issues whatsoever. They don't try to hide him or whatever. He has like a couple of hero slash villain shots that are very cartoony and very theatrical, very cinematic, very, I'm the villain. I'm gonna pose for the camera with my hand in front of my face to show you that I'm the villain, which is super ambitious considering this is like CGI. Finally, those guys kind of reveal themselves to actually be good, which is kind of funny because they killed a lot of them, but they are way more dedicated to, you know, helping contain the mummy than killing our protagonists. Benny manages to plead his way to becoming basically the slave of the mummy. See, those are the types of shots that I'm talking about. Very like in your face, close up and everything. They really wanted to show that 3D model. And rightfully so, honestly. Like, this was in 1999. And those are the shots that I'm talking about. Like, look at that. Look at that. I'm the villain. So Benny tricks this guy and basically brings him to the mummy so the mummy can finish his work. And again, once it's revealed that he's in front of the mummy, this guy starts panicking. The music starts rising. The mummy removes his mask and then it cuts. It doesn't show you what's going to happen. But then later on, we're just going to see the aftermath. And the aftermath is pretty bad. Oh, would you look at that? Another stuntman set on fire. So yeah, at this point, the curse of the mummy is basically bringing the apocalypse or whatever. They were at a bar and everything they were drinking turned into blood. There's literal fireballs falling from the sky. And that's a threat. That's danger. And it's new danger. This might be like the worst looking shot of the movie when it comes to CGI. That's the one that I just can't defend. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this shot still holds up by any means. Very ambitious though. So they catch the mummy finishing with that other guy and they see what he did to him. I think we can also see him regenerating a little bit after doing that. Look at this shot. Oh yeah, that's the part where he sees a cat and then he's scared of the cat and he leaves. But instead of just, you know, being like, oh, and then going poof with like sand or whatever, he goes, and then he does a twist that turns into like a sand tornado. And then within that sand tornado, there's a face that shows up. And then he goes out the window and I'm like, oh yes, there's such an amount of love in the animation and the powers and the abilities of the mummy that I feel like we don't see that a lot. We don't see people really utilize and really be creative with every, like, the extent of powers of course, in this case, it's like, we don't know what the set powers of a mummy are. So they can just be like, hey, do whatever, make him do whatever. But it's just nice to see like this, so much like style in it. We get another stalking scene, just as good as the first one. And at this point, like, the action really, really ramps up in the movie. So this is the type of aftermath that I was talking about. So we don't see exactly what he did, but we know that this is the result, and that can't be good, right? So it still instills fear without showing you the process. We get a little hero shot, opens his mouth. This time it's flies, I think, that fly. I don't even remember. So that's new power, new threat, new danger. So this guy is guarding the woman. I wish I could show you this scene. He gets like just a sandblast attack. But then they finally show you what the mummy would do if it caught you. And the way they show it to you is through shadows on a wall. So the camera basically pans up to the wall and you see him levitating and fighting and then get like super, how do I even say this? He becomes a skeleton pretty much, like his shadow. And then the sand forms into Imhotep, which is the mummy. Again, extremely stylized, extremely cool, and such a creative idea to finally showcase what the mummy does, but still without technically showing it. So it's still scary, and most importantly, it's such a cool way of showing it. And since he's not completely regenerated yet, he still have holes, and there's a scarab that's gonna come out the hole of his neck, go up into the hole of his mouth, and he's gonna, like, without opening his mouth, he's gonna catch it with his teeth and start munching on it. I love this. I love how creative it is. It's not like a power or anything like that, but there is so much love into the character. The fact that someone came up with the idea is one thing. The fact that that idea was validated and actually put into the movie is something else. It's basically a hero/villain shot. He's posing for the camera. He's aura farming, as they would say now. But that's the point. That's the point. You know what? Your villain gotta look cool too. It can't just be the heroes. As I said, the guy was guarding the room and now she's in the room and he has to get in. He could just open the door because he's right there, right? He's physical. He's almost a full man. You know what they did? You know what they did? They show you the lock and then they show you sand dripping from it, forming a little pile. And then he forms out of this. I love that. I love that. Look at that. And that's not CG. It's just little details like that. I spoke to a friend about it and she told me about like Barbossa from Pirates of the Caribbean is that type of character where you feel like there's a huge amount of love that was put into the animation, into the creation of a character. I kind of want this amount of love to show through main characters in certain shows and certain movies. And I feel like we don't get a lot of that. Almost impossible for me not to mention things like Stranger Things, where we watch a character for 4 seasons basically build up to a very, very mediocre display of their superpowers. And it's like, what's the point? The only thing that really changes that someone else also had a little bit of those superpowers. Everyone in the world could have anticipated that it would be anticlimactic. Something being supernatural or, someone having superpowers is not enough for people to be like in awe or to appreciate the character or the situation or the story. You have to go beyond what someone's first thought would be for the use of those powers. In a movie like Jumper, if you could quick teleport to places, you and I can sit and just, brainstorm a couple of ideas off the top very fast, right? Oh, I would teleport into a bank vault and then teleport back out. Yes, they showed that in the movie. But then there's a fight scene where mid-fight, this guy teleports to freaking London or somewhere, brings back a whole bus, and you're like, oh, that was cool. That was unexpected. That was really cool. Things like that, little things like that, okay? It's like, oh, okay, now he gets to the door. What does he do? And someone was like, how about he freaking drips in as sand? Mwah. Thank you. Show me stuff like that. Anyways, sees the cat, busts out of there. Raises an army of kind of zombie-like people who are all shouting, Emotep, 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 I love that. I used to say this all the time with my brother when we were kids after watching the movie. Once again, we are facing a different kind of threat. And once again, they utilize it really well. There's like a chase scene where they're in a car. And imagine if a whole city was trying to kill you while you were riding in a car. That's exactly what they show you. They pile up on the car and people must have gotten hurt during this. It's so violent and amazing. Our boy Imhotep, of course, always posing, always aura farming. Someone gets separated from the group and basically comes face to face with the mummy. And again, instead of showing you exactly what the mummy does to him, we hear crunching noises and screams and yells. And then we cut to the reaction of Benny basically starting to look a little bit and then looking away, letting you know that it's disgusting to watch. And if you're wondering, do they ever show exactly what Imhotep does to them to basically, well, no. I think that's pretty much the last victim he gets before he's fully, regenerated. And also, yeah, no, they don't show you. They don't show you. So it's all up to your imagination until the end. Imhotep steals the woman. The rest manages to escape. And now they have a plane. And boom, new power. Imhotep is controlling a whole sand storm. Sandstorm has a face in it. Basically, Imhotep's face going rawr, as if it was going to eat them. And he's shooting back while on a plane with a machine gun towards a sandstorm. It's a very silly movie. It's such a silly movie. It's so good. It's so good. I'm not mad at it. Do your thing. She finally plays an Uno card and actually sexually assaults someone else for once. And that basically distracts them from killing those on the plane. The brother gets the scarab treatment, except this time they managed to use a knife to actually pull it outside of his skin, basically outside of his shoulder. Now Imhotep revives a couple of goons, which is basically skeleton zombie-ish things. That's a new threat-ish. We just had alive normal people zombies before. Now we have actual undead zombies. Imhotep also revives Anksunamun, his old wife. And to complete the ritual, basically Anksunamun or Imhotep needs to kill the woman. Her name is Evelyn. Still zombie-ish, mummy-ish. I'm not gonna call it a new threat, but it's different than the other ones. Now the royal guard gets summoned, and at first you're like, I guess like another zombie army. But then the movie starts showing you them doing like some wild tricks, like walking on walls and being super agile. And they basically establish that they're gonna be a problem. Yeah, that kind of problem. Is that another stuntman set on fire? Of course it is. Anyways, they keep reading from the book, order the guards to kill Anksunamun. And then the final spell is basically to make him mortal. He gets stabbed, falls in the water, and basically turns back into the mummy that he is. Now, unfortunately, as much as I understand this part of the movie, this is like where the mummy is actually fighting our main protagonist, and all he does is just push him around. Like, I understand that, and that happens in a lot of movies, right? Like the big bad guy just pushes the hero around, push, shove, throw, but it kind of kills the momentum of everything we've been building up of how powerful this thing was before becoming mortal. So the actual hand-to-hand combat that we see with the mummy himself are just him shoving the main character around. There's a part where he gets his arm severed, the mummy that is, he just screws it back in, no problem. So he's still kind of scary, he still gets that aura, but it's never, you know, devastating. If he like grabs someone and immediately just like snaps their neck or something like that, but I think that's a PG-13 movie, so you know, they can't do much. Then we get the classic, hey, now it's the end of the adventure, we need to leave because everything is falling apart and the place is basically self-destructing. And there's this part where those big walls are like coming down. Like the set design here is so good. Even watching it now, I'm like, oh, I can feel like the weight of whatever wall that is because it's like a super thick wall. And they play it super duper close to really give you maximum anxiety. And I love that. So I wouldn't call it a threat, but our main characters were kind of in danger. And it was pretty interesting. Here, Benny gets left alone inside. And yeah, army of scarabs start rushing him while his torch is slowly fading out. And of course, finds himself in complete darkness. We hear him scream. And that's it. There you go. That's a better shot. Look at that. I'm telling you. I can't criticize the CGI. Not for the scarabs, at least. Because this is still scary. And they ride into the sunset. Yeah, no notes. No notes. This movie is great. It's such a silly movie. I want you to understand that I'm not saying that this movie is serious or it's like super scary or horror. To be fair, as a kid, I probably had nightmares. Like some of those scenes are pretty serious and pretty scary to this day. But it's more like as a concept, right? There is no real gore, but we do see someone get mummified, put into a sarcophagus, and then have a lot of crazy angry scarabs dropped on them. I've seen some recent adventure movies. I've seen Predator Wildlands is kind of that. And it still didn't feel like, I don't know, I didn't get the same feeling that I get watching a movie like The Mummy. I don't feel the love that I'm talking about. I don't feel that creativity. I don't feel that passion, even though we do have the tropes, right? The unfamiliar nature, those are the rules of those lands, or this is a new creature. We're gonna face this type of danger and then this type of danger. It's still, I don't know. I don't know if it's like a lack of practical stuff. I don't know if it's because Predator Badlands is just like too far removed from reality for me to feel grounded or to have anything be really impactful. But just in general, I cannot tell you when was the last time I watched a movie like that where I really felt like the craftsmanship, the creativity, the love behind it. I really don't want to sound like it was better in the old days or whatever, but when you watch a movie like The Mummy that had the budget and really you feel like they utilized it, I don't know. Listen, if you watched all the way to here, first of all, thank you so much, but let me know a couple of movies that, you know, kind of made you feel like that might be a little more recent. This came out in 1999. But that makes me realize that I never really sat down and thought of like a top 5 or a top 10 adventure movies. So yeah, what's your top 5? What's your top 10?